What is up, guys? RGT85 here, and as you can see, we're taking a look at, honestly, a controversial game and a controversial topic when it comes to the Nintendo Switch, and that, of course, is Resident Evil for the Nintendo Switch. Now, Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 0, and Resident Evil HD Remastered are all releasing on the Nintendo Switch in North America on May 21st. However, they are all available on the Australian eShop right now, so I moseyed on over to the Australian eShop and picked up Resident Evil 4 because I wanted to cover this game for you guys. You guys know I am a big Resident Evil fan, and when Resident Evil was announced as coming to the Nintendo Switch, I was admittedly pretty excited about it. Yeah, they're older games. Yes, they're games I've already played and beaten before, but I love Resident Evil games, and to see them again on the Nintendo Switch, it's just great in my opinion. A lot of people were excited for it, myself included. But then we learned Capcom was going to be Capcom, and the pricing structure of these games was just absolutely atrocious. So these games all released on the PS4 and Xbox One. They came out and they were $20 a piece. Since then, they have been on sale many times. The Nintendo Switch versions of the game, however, are $30 a piece, $10 more than on the PS4 and the Xbox One. And that's just unacceptable. When you look at the physical edition of the game, it has Resident Evil 0 on the cartridge, it has Resident Evil 1 via a download code, and there's no Resident Evil 4, and it's still $60. So there's no price break or whatever, you know, for these games. And it's just ridiculous to me that these games are still being charged $30 for them. And that's really a bit of disappointment to me. You might be saying to yourself, well, RGT, is that why you are disappointed in the Nintendo Switch version of the game? And it does play a role, but I will not say it is the only factor. We'll get into why I'm disappointed in just a minute. But if you've never played Resident Evil 4 before, where have you been? Like, this is a game that I think everyone has played by now. Obviously, this came, oh, I didn't even see that guy. Obviously, this came out on the Nintendo Wii, or the Nintendo GameCube originally. You know, all of the Resident Evil games were coming out on the GameCube. Capcom and Nintendo were really buddy-buddy during that time frame. It was actually a very interesting time for Nintendo and Capcom, and this game was one of the cornerstones of Capcom's lineup on the GameCube. Of course, then it was brought over to the PS2 as it was just a timed exclusive, and then it's been released on pretty much everything under the sun. You play as this guy, Leon S. Kennedy. You are tasked with having to save the president's daughter, Ashley, who has been kidnapped by a terrorist organization. You learn about all the stuff going on. You know, the story is pretty good, I will admit. The story is still enjoyable. There are some fun characters. Ramon Salazar is probably my favorite character in this game, and one of my favorite characters in Resident Evil franchise history. Just, I love when you meet him, you go into his castle, and he's like, "I've been expecting you, my brethren." And it's like, I don't know why, that's just so funny to me. And since then, like, whenever people come over to my house, like over a decade later, I still greet them like that. "I've been expecting you, my brethren." So, I don't know, you know, Ramon Salazar was a cool character, but, you know, it's got a great story, I feel. And, you know, it's still a timeless game. It's a game that, when it was being developed, obviously 3D games were kind of in a bit of a weird spot. You know, 3D games were definitely growing as far as the quality of the games, but as far as the controls of the game were concerned, they were still a bit lacking, I feel. And Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube, I actually did not finish it because I did not like the way the controls felt. You know, it felt more like an action game than a survival horror game, and as an old school Resident Evil fan, I just didn't really like that all that much. But as time went on, you know, I did sort of enjoy the game, but I actually ended up selling it to a friend of mine because he was really into the game. You know, he liked watching me play it. It wasn't until this came along, Resident Evil 4 Wii Edition, that I absolutely fell in love with this game, and I thought it was fantastic. Now, of course, this is the same game that released for the GameCube, but they did add in Wii motion controls, and I really feel like the motion controls helped set this game apart because it was much more fluid. I felt like I was in much better control of Leon in this version of the game than I was on the GameCube. Now, when this game came out, it was $30. It came out physically, it came out with a full color instruction booklet and a disc. The disc is in a disc sleeve somewhere in one of my disc drawers over there. But yeah, it was only $30. Yet it's still $30 on the Nintendo Switch. But I thought to myself, you know what? The Nintendo Switch does have an added benefit over the PS4 and the Xbox One. Besides from portability, you have built-in gyro controls and motion controls in these Joy-Cons. So I'm thinking to myself, well, you know what? If you played it on the PS4 and you wanted some, you know, motion controls, you would have to have additional accessories. Same thing when it comes to the Xbox One. You would have to have something like Kinect. So more than likely, Capcom is going to put motion controls into this game, right? And that's why they're charging $10 more maybe, and you know, it'll make the game stand out more. No, there are no motion controls in this game, and that is where my disappointment lies. That is between the price point and the lack of motion controls, that is where I just have to draw the line, because it's just unacceptable. I do not like the standard controls of Resident Evil 4. I don't think they're very good. I think they weren't very good when the game first came out, and they're just dated by today's standards. And the fact that they could have put motion controls into this game, the fact that they could have added in motion controls to make this game stand out on the Nintendo Switch to somewhat justify the extra $10, yet they did not do that, is just unacceptable in my opinion. It sucks. When you look at the control setups that you could do in this game, first off, for some reason, Rumble is automatically turned off. I don't understand why. You have to go in and turn Rumble on. But when you look at the button configuration, you get 3 types of controls, and pretty much they're pretty much the same. Like, you can make it so that you aim with the R stick, or you can make it so you don't aim with the R stick, or you can have this other very clunky control style that I just don't like. And you can't customize anything. So I think that's very weird. For some reason, I can't do subtitles either. So I don't know, like, subtitles are just natively turned off and it won't let me turn it on. So that's another weird thing. And I know I've been very negative about this port of the game so far, and you're probably saying to yourself, well, it's still a great game, and you're completely right. It is still a great game. I have never played the PS4 or the Xbox One version of the game, just because at the time, I was just playing other stuff. I never got around to playing it. So this is the first time that I've actually seen the HD graphics for Resident Evil 4. And I will say that the graphics are very nice. Like, I think everything looks nice and crisp. There are low resolution textures, but the character models all look nice. The frame rate is nice and smooth. Everything goes along very nicely. The game looks great in handheld mode as well. I'll have some handheld mode footage so you guys can see that as well, so you can see how the game looks when you're playing in handheld mode, because obviously that's going to be a draw for Nintendo Switch owners. Is the game worth an additional, $10 just to have handheld mode? I guess it just kind of depends on what you like. To me, it's tough. Like, I don't think the portability aspect is worth necessarily an additional $10. And some people may disagree with me on that, and that's fine. I totally understand that. But just to me, like, I would have rather had the motion controls in the game, and I think that would have made the game just stand out a bit more. So it's still a great game, though. Like I said, you're getting a lot of content in the game. The storyline itself is a pretty long game, 8 to 10 hours depending on how you play it. There's a bunch of hidden secrets. There's a bunch of additional content with the Ada Wong stuff as well. And, it's still a great game. It's just the problem is they did not do anything to sort of justify this extra $10 purchase. And it pisses me off, really, because Capcom has just been so wildly inconsistent on the Switch. I love this guy. What are you buying? What are you selling? Like, he's a timeless character. Look at that lighting. That lighting looks very, very nice. That's obviously something that you would have not seen on the GameCube version of the game. But Capcom, and you have to wonder what's going to happen with Devil May Cry, because Devil May Cry was recently announced as coming to the Nintendo Switch, and it's only going to be the first game from the HD series of Devil May Cry that released on the PS4 and the Xbox One as well. And how is that game going to be priced? Are they going to charge something like $30 for that game? You just don't know. And because of that, it just feels like Capcom is doing a lot of ill will towards Nintendo Switch customers, and it's not right, really. I think the Switch has been very kind to Capcom. These controls. Jesus, I didn't see that lady there. Get away from me. I think my left Joy-Con is drifting again, so don't hold that against me too much. But, Capcom has just been so wildly inconsistent with the Nintendo Switch, and this is just another perfect example of that wild inconsistency. Why can you not just, do things normally? Why can these games not be $20? There's no rhyme or reason for these games to be $10 more than on other systems. There's no rhyme or reason for these games to also not have motion controls. I understand, Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 1 not having motion controls. That's fine. Those games were not built where they could use motion controls effectively, I feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, Resident Evil 4 is a 3D game. Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 0 were both games that were, of course, they were 3D games, but they had interesting camera angles. They had fixated camera angles. It wasn't a free motion 3D world like you're getting in Resident Evil 4. So, those games not having motion controls, although I do believe that those games did release with motion controls on a special Nintendo Wii version. God, I can't even hit this thing. Oh, these controls. They did release on the Nintendo Wii with special Wii controls. But once again, I'm not going to hold it against that for not having it. But this game should have had motion controls in it, and I think people would have been fine with purchasing it at $30. But the fact that it doesn't, it's so disappointing to me. So, you know, I don't know. If you really want to play Resident Evil 4 portably, I guess it's good. I would wait for a sale. I'm not going to pick up Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil HD, the Origins collection tomorrow, because I'm not paying $60 for it. I think it's not worth $60. I'll wait for it to be like $40 or something like that. And I feel like $40 is a much easier pill to swallow. But at $30 a piece, it's unacceptable to me. So, you know, man, it's tough because I really wanted to love this game, and I still do like it. It just could have been so much better, I feel, if they would have just priced it right or put in motion controls, or maybe have done both as a thank you to Switch owners. But those are my thoughts on Resident Evil 4 for the Nintendo Switch. Let me know in the comment section down below if you plan on picking up this game or any of the Resident Evil games, or are you a bit dissatisfied with what Capcom is doing to Nintendo Switch owners by charging more for getting less with these games, or getting the same amount for a higher price point with no real rhyme or reason. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. There's going to be a lot of reviews up this week. We got Assassin's Creed 3 coming out for the Nintendo Switch, that remastered edition. I actually never played Assassin's Creed 3. I've only played the first 2 and 4. And then, of course, Team Sonic Racing and whatever else shows up in my inbox. So we're going to be checking out those games. Thank you guys for the support. I love all you guys. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next video. Later.